The Palestinian State Declaration by Macron is a diplomatic statement. It proves where he's standing. And Israel is going to have to decide how it moves forward and how it responds to more countries doing it, because now that one of the G7 countries has moved forward, we can expect potentially other important diplomatic countries within Europe to do something similar. But the reality is that Israel's response is going to be strong and needs to be strong and needs to be thought out, because the narrative warfare depends on it. And so why is this narrative so important? Well, let's take this morning. For example, just today, it was announced that we're starting a humanitarian aid dropping stop of the war. It's not an actual stop, it's a few hours, okay? And it's causing an uproar. People in Israel are very unhappy about it. Why? Well, we've started dropping in aid through planes. Now, after this kind of big famine narrative, the Gazans are starving thing has been pushed and pushed and pushed and pushed and pushed. And this is an interesting image that I want you guys to look at, because this is how a lot of Israelis feel. By us providing aid to the Palestinians, what we are doing in return, I actually don't like calling them the Palestinians. By us providing aid to the Gazans, what we are doing in return is strengthening them to harm our soldiers. And this debate of hostages, Palestinians versus our IDF soldiers is a complex one. It's one that a lot of Israelis are not sure where they stand. But the fact is, I think most Israelis can say that they don't feel that the Gazan lives should be more important than our IDF soldiers. And that could potentially be what happens from such a thing. If you keep on sending aid and supporting the Hamas and allowing them to have more and more food and nourish them, and putting a humanitarian pause, allowing them to regroup, these kind of things directly impact our soldiers. And just this morning, unfortunately, we had more IDF casualties. The pain is real and the frustration is real. But what's really important is to realize that the only reason Israel is falling for giving more humanitarian aid, besides being such a humanitarian country, is because of this narrative, because they've managed to spark outrage in the world. They managed to create this idea that, oh, there's a famine, so Israel has to provide. And that's not true. It puts the onus on Israel, and it's not. It's on the Palestinians, it's on Hamas, it's on the Gazans, it's on their countries, it's on all the other countries to deal with it. It's not on Israel's responsibility. It never has been. The Allies didn't feed the Germans, they didn't feed the Nazis, and Israel doesn't need to be feeding radical Islamists. But what happens is when there is a big narrative online, it impacts direct legislation, it impacts direct diplomatic actions here, it impacts our military decisions. And that is really, really unfortunate and problematic. And that is the importance of Israel regaining the narrative. This is not about the Jewish people. This is not about Israel's right to exist. It's not about that. It is about a fight against radical Islam, a belief that radical Islam wants to take over the world, and taking them at value, understanding that they believe this, they say this, and they are working every single day to get there. They have managed to shift this into a narrative warfare about Palestine versus Israel and who deserves what, and it is not about that. My friends, this is not about October 7th. I know that's radical to say, but it's not. It's not about what happened then. It's not about a retaliation for that. It's about an understanding that these people who have been saying these things all along, now they actually mean it. Now they're actually acting upon it. And now is the time that we have to eradicate these things at the source, at the core. That's what our Iran war was about. That's what the war with the Houthis is about. By the way, the Houthis are planning like a grand infiltration, and Israel's taking that very seriously, which is interesting. That is what the war with Syria is about. That is what the protection of the Druze is about. It's all about us fighting this radical Islamization that plans to take over the world. And if the Western society can't see it, more than that, if the Western society leadership is being manipulated into this, that is Israel's responsibility to fight back against, and to, again, not focus on the nitty-gritty details. I mean, I've seen so many of these interviews now with Piers Morgan and with Candace and with Tucker, and they bring it down to such niche points. Well, do you care about Palestinian children? Piers, do you not care about your own children? Do you not care about the children of England? Do you understand that by you valuing the Palestinian lives over the lives of the European children, of the Jewish children, what you are saying is that their lives one day will no longer be? Because that is the radical Islamist plan. Stop focusing so much on the Palestinian conflict, focusing so much on rubbish statements like, we're going to create a Palestinian state, and understand that this starts with Israelis standing up, with the Jewish people standing up strong and calling it out for what it is. This is radical Islam. They're falling for it. Tucker Carlson, Candace Owens, these people are falling for it. Why? Because they've managed to turn us into the scapegoat. They've come at us from every direction. They've figured out in such a sophisticated way the ideas that really, really spark each society, and they've gone for those ideas. They focused in, as we said, on the Western idea of freedom, on American idea of freedom of religion, and they managed to bring in draconian ideas to have people support a terror movement, to believe that rape is just resistance in the name of freedom, in the name of victimhood. They've created these ideas, and they've also managed to target the right. They've also managed to come after people like Candace, like Tucker, and to spark it within them. Every direction we are being attacked, but the fact that we are being attacked makes it even more important. It makes us realize that what we are doing is correct, what we are doing is right.